Hello, GameBro Advanced here, and today I want to make the case for why you should play Metroid Fusion. As one of Nintendo's longest-running flagship franchises, Metroid first launched in 1986. It's seen its share of ups and downs, but even after 35 years, it's still alive and kicking, and that's the most important thing. If you're an avid gamer, there's probably a chance you've heard of Metroid. The legacy of 1994's Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo often sees it placed among everyone's rankings of greatest games ever, and that is no fluke. But following up on a masterpiece is never an easy task. The full story of Metroid can be a bit complicated. Launching the same day as spin-off Metroid Prime, Metroid Fusion, aka Metroid 4, continues the story of bounty hunter Samus Aran after the events of the aforementioned Super Metroid. Now, I'm not going to cover the entire Metroid lore, but it is important to know that Samus' sole purpose here is to eliminate the entire species of Metroid, which threatened extinction across the galaxy. In Metroid Fusion, we learn that Samus joins a research team on an escort mission but gets attacked by a creature called an X-Parasite which can shapeshift using its victim's DNA. Luckily, she's cured by a vaccine containing Metroid cells that help her survive the infection but now makes her vulnerable to cold temperatures just like the Metroids themselves. Samus's new mission becomes to scour the research station and terminate all remaining X-Parasites. Without much power or initial guidance, you're often running inside the research station, but it doesn't take long for the game to introduce its makeshift narrator, a computer named Adam that leads Samus along the way. With access to a map and important markers as you explore, you will frequently receive objectives from Adam advising you where to go and what to do, with a few surprises along the way. The base is split up into sectors. One of the first things I really like is how each one is basically a different biome. There's tropic, arctic, aquatic, volcanic, you get the point. So regardless of being stuck on a space station, it will feel like you are traveling to different lands as you play through. Enemies will appear just about anywhere, and what's nice is the game will allow you to farm health and ammo by destroying each one. It's your job to make sure you seek out all of the rooms needed to save your progress, recharge your energy and missiles, and update your objectives. As you explore through all of the different sectors, you'll regain more of your power-ups that make it crucial for advancing through the game. Not to mention, some of them you'll obtain from defeating bosses. Those you'll encounter in just about every sector. And can I mention the SA-X? You will eventually be stalked by an evil version of yourself with more power that's made up entirely of X-Parasites. Super creepy. But that may be my favorite element in this game. It does a great job at establishing the feeling of suspense, not knowing when or where you'll encounter the SA-X again, and all you can do is run for cover. Speaking of running, I want to mention that I like the way Samus plays. The controls are pretty responsive considering the hardware and era this was developed for. Samus is pretty nimble and can fire her blasters in multiple directions, allowing you to dispose of enemies no matter where they attack from. And it only gets better as you obtain your suit upgrades. Eventually you'll feel like you can physically do just about anything, and you'll need that for when you face the final boss. A popular element in these games is being rewarded for exploration. There are power-ups hidden everywhere, some are obtainable early and some late, but the more you take the time to look around, the more likely you'll be to boost your energy and missile ammo. You never know when having some extras might help you survive a tough boss fight. A few other solid elements that really add to the traditional Metroid flavor are the graphics and music. For a 2D action game, the sprites are very easy on the eyes, and the cutscenes that help push the story forward are well done and easy to follow. While I wouldn't necessarily play any of Fusion's haunting themes in the background while hanging out at home, I think when you combine the game's foreboding atmosphere with the soundtrack provided, they mix together quite perfectly, and that's a very key element to what makes Metroid awesome. I got through Metroid Fusion in about 7 hours, which might be difficult to accomplish in one sitting, but I enjoyed being able to make progress one day and resume coming back to it the next. If you're thorough enough to find all the items, you might notice something different after you've completed the game. However, one major gripe I have is that there are no difficulty options, although they exist in the Japanese version. While Metroid Fusion remains pretty decorated with a Metacritic score of 92, you might not say this game is overlooked or underrated. And that's true when you compare it to other games in the Game Boy Advance library, but most people today would likely still declare Super Metroid or Metroid Prime as the franchise's greatest effort. And even on the Game Boy Advance platform itself, it's often debated with Metroid Zero Mission as to which is better. But for an original game in the series, it still has a lot to boast, and with Metroid being put back on the map in 2021 with Metroid Dread, this is a good opportunity to shine a light on a game that a lot of people still may not have experienced. Unfortunately though, a loose copy will not come cheap, as it's valued at around $70 to $100 these days. However, digitally you can still enjoy Metroid Fusion if you are lucky enough to own a Wii U, and have access to the Nintendo eShop before closure in March 2023. Otherwise, let's hope Nintendo finds a way to bring this back in some capacity, as I think it deserves more recognition. So what did you think? Have you played Metroid Fusion before, or any other Metroid games? Let me know in the comments, and also let me know what other Game Boy Advance games you'd like me to cover in future videos. Thanks for watching.